That's okay. I'm thinking about children,
Yep.
and I understand, that it's not a small child's law of attraction.
So whose is it?
That's what I'm wondering in some circumstances, like often it will be the mother, but I'm just thinking about like the work that I did for a long time.
Yep. He is the child.
Yeah.
Who's in the child's environment? You've got the mother's emotions.
Yeah.
You've got dad's emotions. Who else?
Could be grandparents.
Could be some grandparents around mum.
Yeah, could be
And grandparents around dad.
step-parents.
Or step-parents, couldn't it? Any of those people?
Yeah.
Right? Now, all of these people will be affected by what happens to this child in some
Yes.
way. Right? Who else is involved in this child's law of attraction?
Siblings.
Siblings, so there could be some brothers or sisters involved in the process. Right? Who else is involved in their environment? Teachers. Okay, so we've got some teachers. Right. Can you see who else is involved in their environment? There's spirits with every one of these people. Right? Some of which are malevolent, some of which are benevolent, but either way, there's spirits there. So every one of those has an attachment of different spirits. Now, every single one of those persons goes to create that child's emotional condition. And whatever happens to that child is a perfect reflection, because everything that God has created is perfect. Whatever happens to the child is a perfect reflection of all of those people's emotions and law of attraction. Does that make sense? So it's not so much the child's, because the child is in this state hardly even using its own free will. Does that make sense? So it's the free will of all the people who control the child that are affected by the event. Yeah? So if the child has an accident of some kind, every one of those people, even the person the healthcare professional who's invited into the life of this child now to look after the child, has a law of attraction with this event. It's that precise. Every single person who ever has anything to do with that child needs to look at how they created that child's condition.
So given, and I'm talking about, say, a small child, I'm thinking of a particular case where the child was under 2 and quadriplegic as a result of an accident.
Yep.
So that you've then got many healthcare professionals,
Yep.
as well as...
Every one of those healthcare professionals needs to look at their law of attraction.
So you might have tiny percentage of that environment who's actually have any idea that this is more complex than a road accident.
But can you see how it's not more complex than a road accident? Actually, it's the same kind.
Well,
of
I
thing.
mean, it's not a random. It's not a.
No,
there are emotions involved.
Totally, we need to see every event as not a random event.
Yeah.
The time you just slip and with your knife and cut your finger while you're chopping up the veggies is not a random event. None of them are random events. Do you understand? God's laws are perfect in every way, and therefore every single law operates perfectly. So if you've slipped and cut your knife, cut your finger with a knife, there's something going on. There's something emotionally that this event was created by inside of yourself. And that applies to absolutely every single event. So, a well popping in the USA, right, that's exploding huge amounts of oil, that also is a law of attraction for us here. Why? Because we get a video of it in our living rooms, right? And it has an effect on us here emotionally. So we were actually a part of the event's creation. Do you understand? Like that event we helped create. Right? And it was an emotion in us that helped create it. So this is the trouble with blaming anybody else for a creation, is that, and all we need to do is solve this, is if each single person just looked at my own particular emotion that I felt with regard to any event that comes towards me, then I'll resolve the underlying soul reason inside of myself as to how I helped create the event. Does that make sense? That's the beauty of how the whole universe operates. Every one of God's laws is perfect. There is no accident. There's no accident. Ever.
what I think I'm asking is there any, like, I understand that as an individual we can only deal with the emotions that we feel about whatever event we're attracted to be part of.
Yep.
But say in that, I mean, this is not my job any longer, but in that position, there's no way that all of those people are going to deal with their emotions. Can the child be helped by
No.
a couple of people dealing with their emotions?
This gets to the law of cause and effect. How can the child be helped if nobody who created the child's condition is willing to look at the reason inside of themselves as to how they created the child's condition? If they're not willing to address the cause, then how can you help the whole process? You can only help the process when everyone involved is willing to address the cause. Does that make sense? This is why it's so important to learn the divine truth on the planet, because we all have a part in the creation of every event that actually comes into our sphere of operation. So as soon as you become conscious of an event, so let's say tonight you're driving home in the car. Why do you happen to be driving home in the car at that particular time, by the way? You know, there's all these things that we're doing something because of a whole series of choices and decisions we made, right? And we're driving home in the car right at the moment the news comes on, the news flash comes on, and they just report that a lady who was in her 80s or 90s just got raped and bashed to death by a person. Right, now this happened in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. And I'm driving along in the car and I hear that. Now, the fact that I heard it means there's something in me that this event is triggering that I actually helped create this event with. Does that make sense to you? Just the fact that I'm hearing it right at that moment means that I have a part to play in this event. It's very important to understand this, and it's very powerful once you understand it. I am playing a part. Now, how could I be playing a part in the event? Well, it could be quite a number of different issues. That lady might have been abused as a child, and I am a person who overlooks my own abuse as that happened to me when I was a child. So I've actually put pressure on her through my denial of my own abuse, put pressure on her to deny her own abuse, which might have created a law of attraction event. Or it might be quite simple, like the law involved. There's laws involved with rape, and then there's laws involved with child abuse. And I might be being confronted right at that moment of these different laws. Why are these laws there? What's going on? How did the person finish up raping this person? I might have actually been a contributor through my own attitudes to the event. And the fact that we're hearing about the event means there is something about this event for us emotionally to resolve. Does that make sense? The fact that we're just listening to it on the news right at that moment means that there is something in it for us to resolve. And it's very important to understand this, because if you understand it, you can actually take full control of your life through dealing with your emotions about every event. Does that make sense? Sorry? No, that's not the way to deal with the event. You see, you heard the news right at that moment because of a whole series of choices and decisions that were made at the soul level to get to the point where you heard. And so therefore, the answer isn't to not listen to the news. The answer is to actually deal with the emotion about the event. Because the emotion inside of me about the event was partially what created the event. Does that make sense? Now, my partial creation of that event is nowhere near as great as the murderer's, who obviously has a much greater law of attraction involved with the event. But the fact that I heard it means that I am involved. And this is a very important thing to understand. Every single thing that comes into your life from any direction, in any place, in any time, is the result of a law of attraction inside of something going on inside of your own soul. Does that make sense? Can we use the mic? Yep.
I just had a short one. I was just saying, a good one for that is elections. You get what you vote for, don't you?
Yeah, who we get is a result of the law of attraction for all of us, definitely. As the case with every single event. Now, Now, what we often do is we focus on the big events. So what we do is, wow, I had a car accident today. That was pretty hard. You know, I have both my legs broken. I'm now sitting in hospital with traction in both legs and, you know, feeling pretty sorry for myself and feeling like I made some stupid decisions today to get to that point or whatever. And there's a whole lot of emotions going on in me and I notice that event. But do I notice the event where I just burned myself on the top of the stove? Because both events have a creation from our own soul and its own law of attraction. And if I'm willing to, the way to progress on the divine love path very rapidly is to notice every event. Right? Because if you can notice every event, you'll know and feel about it, you'll know what created it quite rapidly.